Welcome to Marketing Speak, a series of interviews and monologues featuring thought leaders and industry practitioners in search engine optimization, e-commerce, and online marketing. Here's your host, Stefan Spencer, SEO expert, author, speaker, consultant, and internet entrepreneur.
In this episode, number 124, you are about to master high-ticket selling. Do you want to know what it takes to raise your fees significantly, even doubling or tripling them without giving away any more time or freebies? The secret lies in something called quantum benefits. And the person who's going to tell you all about them and how it works is Jennifer Diepstraten. Jennifer excels at teaching entrepreneurs how to turn interested prospects into excited clients who say, "Yes, I can't wait to work with you." Jennifer has over 20 years of sales experience and over $14 million in product and service sales. Jennifer, it's great to have you on the show.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so let's talk about high-ticket selling, because that's something you're really known for. And there's a real science and an art to it. So first of all, why are people who are selling shying away so much from high-ticket sales and just going with the lower-ticket items like the tripwires and the core offers and not high-ticket? Why avoid that high-ticket sale?
I think that there is a pervasive belief that it's just easier to sell a lower ticket item. It's just easier. It's less money. It's a smaller commitment. It's an easy yes. And the perception is that it just takes more work to sell high ticket.
Yeah, wasn't it a potential just for an impulse buy if it's a low ticket? Like, oh, yeah, sure, I don't mind. Whereas it's more considered purchase if it's high ticket? Longer buy cycle or lead time, all that sort of stuff?
You would think so. I mean, certainly you probably wouldn't put your high ticket offer on the end cap of a cash register. It's not like a pack of gum, but that you're going to just pop into your pocket, as you're checking out of the grocery store. But I think I'm really here to challenge a lot of the assumptions about high ticket being harder. Mm-hmm. It really, because there's so much benefit of selling high ticket. And I am not a low ticket person. I don't even really know how to sell low ticket. It doesn't get me excited. The volume of people that you have to have if you have a low ticket offer to really have a viable business is just astronomical. And most businesses, the most challenging problem they have is not enough leads. And so if you get really, really good at high ticket sales and with the few leads that you have, but they're the right leads and you know how to convert them, you can have an extremely viable, profitable business right out of the gate.
Yeah. Yeah. So let's compare and contrast high ticket selling and low ticket selling.
All right. Well, you want to tell you all the great things I think about high ticket selling first?
Yes. Let's start there. Sure.
Sure. Well, okay. So when I look back on my career, my history, I've always, and I didn't put this together for a while, but I finally realized that when I look back on where I've worked mostly in biotech and medical diagnostics. I used to sell scientific and medical equipment. Then I left. Now I have my own business. I teach entrepreneurs, coaches, experts how to sell high-ticket services. What I have really noticed is that the people who are buying the more expensive item, like the premium products, for the most part tend to be better clients. Most people don't think that that's the case, that somebody who pays you more is going to be more demanding and all, who knows what, right? Snooty or prissy or whatever, but that's not really the case. What I've experienced really honestly, and I've seen my clients have the same experience, is that the high-end buyers tend to be the most gracious, the most respectful, they take the most action, and therefore they get the most results and tend to send their wealthy friends your way.
Yep.
And for me, because what I do, I want people to have great results. I am first and foremost committed to having great results for my clients. I don't make an offer to every person. And when I'm working with my own clients, I also tell them, you don't want to make an offer to every person. The sale is not about trying to get anybody to buy anything. The sale is about looking to see if what you have is a fit for what this person needs. And then if and only if it is, then you make an offer. And that way, when they say yes, you know you can do your work, give it your all, and that they're going to be able to take in what you've given them and use it. And that is worth high ticket all day long because the person is actually going to get the results.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So making your offer to a qualified lead is really important. So how do you qualify somebody? How do you make sure that they are the best kind of lead for you?
Yeah, I mean, this is such a deep question. I could answer this for 3 days straight, probably. But for this purpose, what I would say is one of the things that I go through with my clients is I ask them to get crystal clear on what is unique and special and highly attractive about them. So if you're a web developer and you have 10,000 people that do web developing that you're competing with, it's really hard to make an offer to somebody that's different from another web developer unless you know what's unique and special about you and about how you work. Once you know that, that becomes your point of differentiation, and you can actually charge a premium for that.
So what's the process to identify what that unique point of difference is?
Yeah, so something that if you listen to marketing shows, they'll talk about, your unique selling proposition, your USP, and, your brand, and all that stuff is really valid. But I have a particular way that I like to do it. Can I share what it is?
Of course.
So what I'm going to share with you is not only how you differentiate yourself from everybody else. This is like your fingerprint. It's also how you can see the value of what you do in a bigger way. Because this is the main question people ask me is, Jennifer, I really would love to charge more, but how do I feel good about it? Like, how do I connect with that it's worth more? It just doesn't feel like it's worth more. Okay, so I take them through this. And the best way I can explain it to you is through a story.
Okay.
I want you to imagine that I've got a pile of toys in my living room. And I usually do. I have 3 sons. I have a 15-year-old, a 6-year-old, and a 2-year-old. Okay, all boys. So I usually have toys in my living room. So I want you to imagine I pick up my pile of toys and I go and I put them on the driveway because I'm going to have a garage sale. And because I'm having a garage sale, I've got to price my pile of toys. So I look at my pile of toys and I think, this pile of toys is probably worth $200. So I decide it's $200. Now, in my story here, your current service is my pile of toys, and your current pricing, the analogy is $200 in my story, okay? Mm-hmm. Now I go through something that I have coined the quantum benefits process. It's something that I've been doing for 15 years. I didn't realize I was doing it, and when I finally realized I was doing it, I thought, aha, this is exactly what is the key. This is the key to expanding your own sense of the value of what you have, like feeling good about charging more, okay? I look at my pile of toys, and the first thing I notice is I see some Legos. So I start pulling out the Legos, and I put them in a pile. Then I look back at the original pile of toys, and I see Hot Wheels cars. So I pull out all the Hot Wheels cars and the Hot Wheels tracks and the flags, everything to make the Hot Wheels set. Then I look back at my pile of toys, and I see dinosaurs. So I pull out the dinosaurs and the rocks and the trees, and I keep going with this process until I finally end up with 5 distinct pile of toys. Now, I look back at the Legos and I'm looking at the Legos and I think, when I think about how much fun we have with these Legos, how many different things are actually in that one pile, you could probably build 14 different Star Wars ships. How every Wednesday night or Thursday night at my house is family night. And a lot of times it's Lego night. And I think about how the older boys are building things and how the baby comes through and he wrecks everything and how much fun it is. And as I'm connecting with this pile of Legos and what's so special about them, I realize, this pile of toys, this pile of Legos all by itself is worth like $200. Just all by itself without anything else. Mm-hmm. Then I look at the Hot Wheels cars and I realize the same thing. The dinosaurs, $200. So I go around and suddenly I realize when I can actually see what's in the pile that I have 5 piles, each worth $200. So my value of what I had went from 200 to 1,000. And what I want you to notice is, did I add anything? I didn't, right? I didn't download the instruction manual. I didn't build anything. All I did was I recognized what was unique and specific and highly attractive about each of the piles. And this is what happens for entrepreneurs when they are able to pull apart their pile of toys and look at what's actually in their service. See, I think when we try to identify one USP or one reason why our service or our product is valuable and put it into a nifty little marketing sentence, it's fine in some circumstances, but it actually, for the most part, diminishes the value. And the reason why this process, I call it the quantum benefits process, is because when you really connect with the value of just one of the benefits that people get from working with you, that one thing is worth the entire price of admission all by itself. That's why it's called quantum. It causes a quantum leap in your business because you think, oh my gosh, this one thing is worth it, the entire price of what I'm charging. But they don't just get one. They get 4 or 5. I've never met an offer or a service or a product that didn't have at least 4 or 5 quantum benefits. It was just that they were buried in a pile.
Right. So what would be an example of, from either yourself or from a client, a quantum benefit that was buried under the pile?
One of my favorite examples is my client, Kristen. And I mean, I have this for every person that I've worked with. It's the core. This is the core of all the work I do with all my clients when we're crafting their sales offers and helping them to learn how to sell high ticket. So my client, Kristen, when she came to me, she had a fitness boot camp, like an outdoor group training. I think she did it indoor, but neither here nor there. She had this group training fitness program. People would pay her $197 a month. They would work out with her once a week in a group. She had a pretty good business. She had several of these classes going on. And so it was fine. But she came to me and she said, Jennifer, what I really want to do is I really want to charge $7,500 for a 6-month private training program with me. Because even though I like my boot camp, I've had 10 years of nutrition training, and I have all of this specialty exercise experience that I can't do in the boot camp because I have to customize it to each individual.
Mm-hmm.
And she said, well, what do I do? What do I do? And I think a lot of people would have laughed at her, but I really got that she had some kind of expertise that was, you couldn't really see it because it was in a big pile. You know what I mean? So we started going through the quantum benefits process. And along the way, one of the things that we realized that she can do for people is that she has this ability to test whether or not a particular exercise is good for you and makes you stronger or bad for you and makes you weaker. And so as we're talking about this, I ask her, I say, hey, so Kristen, do you have people in your class, in your boot camp, that aren't progressing? And she said, yeah, actually, there's 3 women in one of my boot camps that I think really shouldn't be there. They're so dedicated. They come every week. They've been coming for a couple years. They would really benefit from this. So from a sort of a superficial perspective, you might think that these women aren't really good candidates for a $7,500 program. They're not particularly overweight. They're not particularly sick. They're relatively in good health. It's just that they're not progressing. But when I talked to Kristen about this a little bit more, I said, do you think that someone who's that dedicated, they come every single week, they've been coming for 2 years or longer, and they're so committed, do you think that them knowing that they're actually doing exercises that aren't good for them might be of interest? She's like, oh yeah, I think they would. And so that's what I did. So we actually, that was one of her quantum benefits, was this ability to determine if an exercise was good for you or bad for you. She actually has 4 or 5 quantum benefits. And so I gave her a little coaching, and she went up and she talked to one of the women in the boot camp, and it sounded something like this. So how are things going in boot camp? Oh, they're okay. Oh, okay, huh? Well, why not great? Well, it just doesn't seem like I'm doing as well as everybody else. Now, Kristen, so Kristen at that point could say, oh, no, you're doing fine. Just keep going. Or she could say, hey, I have this training that I've been doing. I haven't been able to bring it into the boot camp because it's very personalized. But do you realize that there are certain exercises that are good for you and other exercises that aren't as good for you, but it's a very personal thing? You see how that would, So what she ended up doing was she first offered a $497. Okay, she didn't instantly jump overnight to $7,500, but she sold something for $497, then $997, then $3,000, and now it's $8,500 to work out with this woman for 6 months.
Hmm.
Yeah.
That's cool. So it's like she could offer as a mid-range or like a bridge offering between the boot camp and the $7,500 or $8,500 6-month program, something like I'll do an audit or a gap analysis or something to see where you are, where you want to be, and kind of roadmap how to get there. Or let's audit the exercises that you are doing, and I'll tell you which ones are actually helping and progressing you and which ones are hurting you or not helping you or kind of a waste of time. And that analysis could be the thing that steps them into the $8,500 6-month program, right?
Yeah. I mean, she could tier it that way. Ultimately, she ended up just selling $8,500 for 6 months. And I think that what happened with her is really illustrative of a lot of people who are first connecting and getting used to the idea of charging that much. It's like her goal was $8,500, but the most she could stomach at first was $500. It's a big jump from $200 to $500, and then it was another big jump from $500 to $1,000. But that it went really, really quickly, and within 4 months, she was up at that number. So that's sort of what I normally see with people, is that as you connect with the incredible value you have in your quantum benefits, your ability to expand your pricing goes quickly. And also your own acknowledgement, in a way, of how important your service is grows, and your ability to explain it to others grows.
Yeah.
And that's where the money really starts flowing. And also you're able to call in the right clients for you, because you now have better words to explain why your stuff is so great.
Yeah. So I think it's important to offer high ticket offerings, services, products, because not only does that give you a good ROI as your time investing in certain activities and building certain things as the business owner or the marketer or salesperson, but also there's a perception of value as well as the value itself. And if people don't perceive it as valuable because it's low priced, I could offer an SEO audit for $497 and nobody would perceive it as being valuable. Whereas my price for an SEO audit is $35,000. I charge that, and that's my price. I don't discount it. I don't figure out special deals or whatever for people. I don't do flash sales or anything like that. That's an SEO audit, and that's what it costs. If you want to work with me, I'm one of the best in the business. I've co-authored the Bible on SEO, the art of SEO. So if you want me to do the audit, that's what it costs. Mm-hmm. So if somebody is willing to discount and lowball just to get the business, they just destroyed their perception of value with that client, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's a great example. And if you want, we can play a little bit with why the value is the value.
Yeah.
If you want. You want to?
Yeah, let's do it.
You want to talk about it? Okay. So, and I think this will be like a really great kind of mini example for people who are listening, kind of what evolves when you look at quantum benefits. So, Stefan, why do you feel like your service is worth what you charge, and why don't you charge a lower price point? What's so great about you? Because that's what your clients are thinking, or at least your prospects are thinking, right? Like, whoa, why is he charging so much? So what's so great about you, and why should we pay so much?
Yeah. So if you look at the industry and what you normally would pay, it might be anywhere from several $1,000s to maybe as much as $50,000 or $60,000 for an audit. So if you're going towards the low end, well, you get what you pay for, of course, but you're going to get assigned an account manager, and you're going to get an analyst doing most of the work, and the consultant, who is probably a second stringer or third stringer, not the kind of person who's authored books and keynotes at conferences and so forth, but it's just doing what they understand to be true and may or may not have a great deal of expertise. And they're kind of overseeing it and adding their piece to it. But it's mostly done by the analyst who's not that skilled at SEO. So if that's the kind of audit that you want, that's probably not going to get you the outcome that you're after. You need to hire somebody who's really high level, top in their field, and has a great deal of depth of experience across a lot of different industries and has worked with some of the biggest brands in the world, like Chanel and Zappos and Sony and Nordstrom and so forth, and has also worked with startups and, funded startups, ones who can afford this or, see the value in it. And being able to bring all that experience across all those different industries and types of sites to bear and providing recommendations and findings, advice to the audit. So that's, I guess, how I would describe it.
Okay, awesome. So you want to keep playing?
Yeah.
So great. Okay, this is fun. So somebody got a second stringer analyst who didn't have much experience or much knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
What would they not see, or what could they potentially miss?
Yeah, there's so much. There's so many nuances in SEO. So let's say that they're looking at the site and they see that there's maybe some duplicate content, but they're not noticing, or they don't understand the correct way to eliminate duplicate content from the site. Most SEOs do not understand the distinction between disallow and no index. So I'm going to geek out just a little bit here and say that they're using the easy approach, which is let's add a line to robots.txt that says disallow and then, whatever directory or file type or URL string or whatever. And that's like, okay, that's going to stop those pages. They're going to get blocked from Googlebot and they're not going to be in the search results anymore. Well, that's actually not true. Disallow says Googlebot, don't come and visit this page anymore or this URL. It doesn't say, Google, drop this page from the search results. So they wonder okay, I had identified all this duplicate content. I told Googlebot to stop visiting and the pages are still showing up in the search results. Hopefully that'll, Mr. or Ms. Client, that will, kind of sort itself out over time because Google takes time to do these things. Well, that's actually not true at all. They should have used a no index and said, Googlebot, drop these pages from the index. And then they needed to have removed a disallow from the robots.txt to say, Googlebot, come on in and have a look around. These pages are now available for you to access. When they access it, they see that there's a no index meta tag that says, oh, this shouldn't show up in the search results. Okay, we'll honor that. But Googlebot would never see that if you continue to have a disallow in place in your robots.txt. So this might sound really esoteric and geeky, but it's one of so many critical distinctions that the average SEO doesn't understand, and the expert, like the world-leading expert SEOs out there, are finding these mistakes all over the place. And the cost of missing one of these nuances can be huge. You might never come back from a penalty because you've had so much low-quality content that you never successfully removed from Google. You've just stopped Googlebot from accessing those pages to see if anything's changed on them. It just looks like a whole bunch of low-quality content.
Okay, this is so amazing. So you said you might not ever come back from what?
A penalty. Like you might be penalized by Google.
And what does the penalty do to you?
Decimates your traffic from Google.
Like you end up on page gazillion instead of page 1?
Yeah. And then your lead flow goes down the tubes and your sales goes down the tubes. And next thing you know, you're filing for bankruptcy.
Got it. Okay. And how many of these, I know we haven't counted them, but probably if we took our time, we could make a list of all the nuances. It might take you a day, but how many nuances like this don't understand what to do with duplicate content could a second stringer analyst make as a mistake? How many of them do you think there could be?
Well, just with duplicate content, there are probably at least a dozen, but there are hundreds of these little nuances across all sorts of different aspects of SEO, and especially technical SEO, because there's a lot of little geeky little things, like you're doing a set of rewrite rules, and this requires regular expressions, and you're doing pattern matching, and you use an asterisk instead of a plus sign in the string of code, and you're like, that works, seems to work, but it was overly greedy and it catches things that it wasn't supposed to, because an asterisk is for 0 to many occurrences of the previous character, and a plus sign is 1 to infinite number of that previous character. And so if you're thinking that you're doing the 1 to many, 1 to infinite number of that previous character, but actually you're using the asterisk, you're saying that character that preceded doesn't even have to exist to be a match.
Ooh.
And so you're doing stuff like you're thinking, oh, this works because I tested it and I put in a URL and it's redirecting or it's rewriting. It's good. We're good. Good to go. And then all these things that end up happening that they don't even notice or realize for potentially years could come back to bite them, or things just don't work correctly. And they had no idea, and they would have no idea how to diagnose it. So there's so many of those things. Like you're doing HTTPS migration. That's another thing. It's all in the news now that Chrome, at least in the SEO industry, that Chrome is going to have a warning message for websites where they're not secure. If you're just a regular HTTP, whatever URL, then you're going to get, as a user, a warning message by Chrome that this site is not secure. Are you sure you want to proceed? I don't know. This is an insecure website. Maybe I better not. And you're just running a regular blog and you didn't invest in migrating to HTTPS. So there's going to be a mass migration of websites this year to HTTPS, and they're going to screw it up, and they're going to screw up their SEO. They're going to miss little nuances like, oh, I redirected everything. And I didn't need to, I wasn't supposed to redirect everything, but I didn't know that distinction. So I redirected my robots.txt, and I shouldn't have. I should have kept my old one alive as well as have my new one. So both versions of the site have a robots.txt. I should have done the same thing with my sitemaps file. Nobody knows this, like very few people.
Okay, so I'm going to share back some things that I heard, because I heard just in that few minutes 4 quantum benefits.
Okay.
And we have to really develop them more. But here's just from this cursory glance of what you've said, is that people should work with you and get a real SEO analysis, because one, most places that they hire, you get what you pay for. And in most cases, you end up with a second stringer analyst. And there are literally hundreds of mistakes that can be made by the second stringer person across SEO. For example, in just this one area, this don't understand what to do with duplicate content, should it disallow or no index. I know I'm butchering this because I don't really know what I'm saying. But just in that one area, there's dozens of mistakes that can be made. Mm-hmm. Just in that one area. And that one dozen things, then there's another 99 at least across SEO in general. And what happens is if people don't know to look for that, that's why you charge what you charge, because it takes the time and the expertise to know what to look for and then to go find it, right?
Well, yeah, it took 2 decades for me to get to this level of SEO expertise. That's what you're paying for, not for the fact that I'm spending 3 times as much time as the average SEO person doing the audit. You're not paying for my hourly rate or whatever. You're paying for the last 2 decades of me accumulating all this expertise and knowledge.
Right. And the problem is, if you use a second string analyst and they miss even one of these hundreds of potential landmines, then your site might not ever come back from a penalty.
Yep.
And it will decimate your Google ranking.
Yeah. Not that every site's going to get penalized or is at risk of getting penalized, but the cost of missing one of these important distinctions is maybe you missed out on doubling your traffic from Google. That could have happened, and you didn't achieve that because somebody put the wrong directive in robots.txt or didn't do the sitemaps file correctly or whatever.
And that's just one. So if the listener who doesn't know that much about SEO, what I'm getting is that I don't want a second string analyst, and I definitely don't want to take the risk. If my website's important to me and traffic and being ranked on Google is important to me, I don't want to risk that there's some guy out there or gal that's a second stringer that's going to miss the hundreds of potential landmines that could be done wrong just because they don't have the expertise.
Yeah.
And that's just one thing. So you asked a business person, if your website accounts for, $500,000 worth of business a year because of traffic, and sometimes it can be hard to quantify, and even just from leads through your website, well, can you afford to have a penalty on Google that decimates your ranking forever? No, right? And that's just one reason why people would buy.
Yeah.
So continuing to develop that, and you could put it into a talk. Of course, I'm sure you have, that really illustrates that and the impact that it has, maybe a couple of different examples. And then we touch on your other quantum benefits. And we're not going to, I think for the purpose of time, we won't really develop these for right now, but you talked about experience with these big name brands, but also startups. You talked about making recommendations that people could implement on their site. And then you talked about how most SEO people would have no idea. Well, most people wouldn't even know what happened, much less how to diagnose what the issue is, because they wouldn't be able to find the asterisk versus a plus sign, right? They wouldn't even know to look in the code for that.
Yeah.
And that's just the beginning. And now I'm starting to see why that could be worth it to somebody who relies on their website for business.
Yeah. Nice. I love it.
Yeah.
That's powerful stuff. Here's the thing. There's nothing like SEO to grow your business. It's the gift that keeps on giving. I know this, you know this, we all know this, right? But I see so many people get stuck and spin their wheels some more and get nothing done. Or they finally get something done, but it's the wrong thing and it doesn't benefit their SEO one bit. But what if there were a quick and simple system I could walk you through so that you finally get some traction? Would you be interested in that? If yes, go to marketingspeak.com/challenge for a free 5-day challenge I've made for you because I want you to experience success with SEO. You'll learn some cool tools. You'll get into real action to jumpstart your traffic and sales using easy to implement SEO insider techniques. Again, go to marketingspeak.com/challenge to crush this. Now on to the second half of our interview with our guest. So if you identify your 4 or 5 quantum benefits and then you're good at articulating them, then you can raise your prices. And it's easy for you to justify that higher price because you've uncovered the gold, the diamonds in the pile, and you've presented them front and center for that prospect or client to consider.
Exactly. You said it.
Nice. Okay. So let's say that you wanted to incorporate these quantum benefits into your signature talk. Like, let's first of all explain what is a signature talk? Why do you need to have a signature talk versus other talks that you might give, other presentations, workshops and keynotes or whatever that you're giving? We all need to have a signature talk, right?
I think you do, even if the only place it exists is on a website. And certainly speaking is an amazing way to grow your business. It's one of the most powerful marketing tools, I think, out there. And so your signature talk is really, it answers the question, why you? Why should I do business with you as opposed to anyone else in your business category? Or as opposed to spend my money on a trip to Belize? You really have to answer that question. And what I see that really helps my clients is when we take your quantum benefits and we pour them into your talk. So for example, one of the things, I'll use myself since we're talking about quantum benefits, one of the things that I do really well is I help people to communicate the value of why what they have is worth it.
Mm-hmm.
So you know how many sales trainers and sales coaches there are out there?
Yeah, lots. Yeah, lots.
Yeah, right. Like I'm in a crowded industry as well, but I'm crystal clear that one of my quantum benefits is I help you know what to say and when to say it so your ideal client says yes. Okay. And so because I know that's one of the things that I do, and I've just demonstrated that by sharing a little bit about pulling out the language about how to describe your quantum benefit, I know that the person I'm looking for is someone who has because of what I do. So I'm going to say it again. I help people know what to say and when to say it so their ideal client says yes.
Mm-hmm.
So what that means is my ideal client has a hard time knowing what to say, and they're looking for ideal clients. They're not just looking for any client, they're looking for ideal clients.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So when I speak, what am I talking about? I'm usually talking about how to get over being tongue-tied about explaining why people should buy from you, right? Because that's the problem that my person has that would be interested in working with me as opposed to some other trainer. So when you know your quantum benefits, it goes into your signature talk, it goes into your marketing, and it goes into your sales conversations. Because let's face it, if somebody said to me, and I have had this happen where people will ask me, hey, how do I work with you? And I ask them a few questions. I say, well, tell me, how do you feel about how effective you are at communicating what you do? Do you feel like you're really good at explaining what you do in a way that other people get why they should buy from you as opposed to somebody else? And if they say, oh, yeah, I'm really good at that, they're not my client.
Mm-hmm.
What would I do with them? That's like my thing. You know what I mean? And so I can ask that question. I say, well, how about when you're out networking, when you have to stand up and give your 30-second elevator pitch? How do you feel like you're very effective at communicating why you're different, why people should buy from you? Oh, yeah, I'm super good at that. Fantastic. Well, good luck.
Yeah.
Because my gift, one of my main quantum benefits, is I help you to know what to say and when to say it. And so if you don't have that as a problem, I can't help you.
Right.
Right. And so that's how you can start to craft the signature talk and the marketing around what makes you so special. And you end up calling in the people who literally, they listen to your talk, they don't know why they love you, but they have the exact problems that you solve because you illustrated it in your talk. So you end up with these very warm leads.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's essentially once you've identified the quantum benefits and you know how to articulate them, you package those in to your signature talk, into your elevator pitch, into your marketing, your collateral, everything. So it's a continuum from everywhere from the elevator pitch, the 30 seconds that you have when you're in an elevator with somebody and they ask you what you do, to a 45-minute keynote presentation that you might give at a conference where you're actually paid to present it, or where you're not paid and you have to even give a percentage of the back of the room sales to the person who's running the conference.
Yes, exactly. And guess what the product is? The product solved the problem, right? So, my flagship product is called the One Call Sales Blueprint. It's literally how to raise your fees and fill your business with high-paying clients who value what you do. It's just right there. But I can only do that because I know what my quantum benefits are. Like, I'm very clear. I'm high ticket. I don't really speak on low ticket. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just not my expertise. So once you're clear about that stuff, the marketing gets much simpler. And you end up, when you do spend the time talking to leads, people who are interested, if they've consumed any of your marketing materials, which I highly recommend before you get on the phone with someone, have them watch your videos or have them listen to your signature talk. By the time that you talk to them on the phone, they're 3/4 of the way sold.
Yeah. So how do you make them watch your videos beforehand or do the homework that you assign them?
You tell them they have to. So the way that I do it is I like to think of it, and this is really a marketing question. I like to think of what is their top of mind problem that would make them want to click and watch a video of mine. And so I'll brainstorm, and if we took 60 seconds, and if you're listening to this episode, you might want to just grab a pen and paper and just jot down what are 10 or 20 top of mind problems. Like, what are they walking around thinking or worried about, right? So I know that my person is probably not walking around going, I need a high ticket offer. That's literally not what they're thinking about.
Yeah.
They're thinking, oh my God, how do I make more money? I need to get more sales in the door.
Yeah. Or one of my projects is wrapping up and I don't have a client waiting or, new client waiting in the wings. I need to hustle fast.
Yeah. Where do I get my next client? So when I make a list of those, I can kind of match them up with each of my quantum benefits. So if it's, oh my gosh, I have a networking meeting on Friday. What am I going to do in my elevator pitch? I'm so uncomfortable. I might not go. Right? So if I know that that's one of the things that they commonly think, like, oh my gosh, I'm so uncomfortable when I go to networking. Guess what I'm going to have? I'm going to have a video. And it's probably going to say, feel uncomfortable when going to networking meetings. And then when I come on, you'll hear me say, hey, do you feel uncomfortable going to networking meetings? I totally understand right where you're at. It probably feels really uncomfortable when people ask you what you do. Now, what I've discovered is that that's because when people ask us what we do, we're on the spot to really communicate clearly what makes us different and what makes us unique. And here's one tip on how you can do that better. And then I give my tip, and then I tell them to click the button and book an appointment.
That's really great. And so do you do these as super professional, kind of highly produced videos, or are you just kind of winging it, grabbing your phone and taking a quick 2-minute video to give them a tip, and then you're matching up which of those kind of quick and dirty videos you're going to send to them as the homework?
Well, okay, so there's two things there. So one is if you check on my YouTube or Facebook page, you'll see I've got hundreds of videos, and they're all like varying levels of professionally shot and not professionally shot. So it kind of depends. Like I've got certain ones that I take the time and money to do professional shoots because I think that they're really important. And then there's other ones that's like, this is a really great tip. It doesn't need to be professionally done. My phone is fine. And that's sort of the attraction stuff that is out there that I'm hoping people come across in their searches, right? Probably what I need lots of good SEO for. Mm-hmm. But then there's also once they've expressed some interest and they've kind of gotten in and they're looking, there's certain material that I want every person to read, listen to, or watch before they get on the phone. And that is the signature talk, or at least 3 to 5 videos that have your quantum benefits in them. That's what I want. So if somebody says, hey, if I meet somebody when I'm out and they say, hey, Jennifer, I'm really interested in talking with you more, but they haven't seen any of my material. They just liked me. I'll say, okay, great. Let's book an appointment for Friday. Between now and then, can you do me a favor and watch these 3 videos of mine? Because it's really going to give you a solid foundation of my philosophy and of who I am and if we're really a match. And they mostly do. And they're like, oh my gosh, I learned so much from my videos. Or they'll watch them and say, on second thought, I don't want to meet with you, which is fine. Right? Because we don't want every client. We want the right clients.
Right. I like that. Yeah. So you got the quantum benefits baked into the video. You're strategically sending them the right videos that speak to their pain points, mm-hmm. and that kind of moves the conversation forward so that when they're having that initial call with you, they're already primed.
Exactly. I mean, really, it's a self-selection process. I want them to watch or read my material so that if they feel like it doesn't resonate, they just unsubscribe themselves. That's totally fine.
Yeah.
And if it does match, then it's amazing how many messages I get. Jennifer, I watched, 14 of your videos. I just want to know, how can I work with you now? That's that's what I think good marketing should do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Awesome. So let's say that you just created some videos, like professionally shot and so forth, and you didn't do this quantum benefits process beforehand. Like I have some professional videos on my channel on YouTube that, in fact, my welcome video on stuffandspencer.com is a really nice professionally shot video. And I didn't know what my quantum benefits were. I didn't even know what quantum benefit, I didn't even know that terminology. So now do I have to go back and reshoot and have it professionally done and spend all that money all over again?
Well, what I would say is your quantum benefits are probably in the videos already.
By accident.
Because your quantum benefit isn't like, I'm not telling you what your quantum benefit is. We're pulling out the distinguishing phrases that define what makes you unique. Mm-hmm. Right? It's the stuff, and this is what I tell to people, like if they want to grow their sales and they've had some sales, but they haven't had as much success as they want, I say, that's really good news. The good news is that you've already been saying something that's resonating with people.
Yeah. Otherwise, you wouldn't be in business. You wouldn't have a business.
You've already done good work. You've already said enough that people get it. What we want to do now is we want to hone. We want to refine. We want to pull out, the 1 minute out of the 60 minutes that's really the best way to articulate what you do, and just say that. And we want to say just that 1 minute over and over. You know how many times I've told that Lego story, Stefan?
I'm sure at least 10.
Yeah, just like this week. Because it's one of the best ways I know how to articulate this concept. So once you know what that is for you, that becomes your platform. And so what I'm saying, like, you don't need to go reshoot all those videos right now, but you can start to develop your quantum benefits, know what they are, and then you'll kind of look at your video library and say, you know what, these 4 are actually really are pretty darn close to what my quantum benefits are. And maybe you make a video series that you highlight on your website so people make sure that they watch those.
Yeah.
And then I have had people many times go reshoot videos or rewrite some piece of their website to make it more clear what's so special about them. But it's not like, it's not like you've switched from a chocolate cake to a carrot cake.
You don't have to gut everything and start all over.
Yeah, exactly. You're like, oh, I have a chocolate cake. Now I'm going to put some whipped cream and cherries on top. I mean, it's fundamental, but it's not like the other information wasn't good. It's just another level of nuance in your marketing that's going to make your marketing more efficient.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So let's say that somebody listening is on board with this concept of like, I want to figure out what my quantum benefits are. I want to raise my fees. I want to raise my prices. That sounds really good. I'd like to double my prices, but I don't want to do it where I'm giving away more of my time. I don't want to give away a bunch of freebies or bonuses. I don't want to create artificial scarcity. I just want to be real. And I think I'm worth it, but I don't know how to articulate that I'm worth it. I'm afraid that I'm going to lose a bunch of my clients when I double my prices. Mm-hmm. Maybe I should just double my prices on my website and not double my prices with all my current clients. Yeah. What do you do?
Yeah. So the pricing, there's a couple of questions kind of inside that one question. And what I would say to folks is, in order to raise your fees and actually have somebody pay you the raised fee, it doesn't count if you just raise the fee, but nobody pays you the new number. Right? Yeah. So if you want to raise your fees and actually have somebody pay you the raised fees, you've got to be 100% in alignment with that new number.
Yeah.
Okay. So when I do quantum benefits work with people, that's usually where that shift takes place. And that's like Kristen. It's like, I want to charge $8,500, but I don't really know that it's how to explain that it's worth it. Or I've got a gal who, when she started working with me, she does PowerPoint slides for high-level presenters. And when she started working with me, she was charging $1,500 for a slide deck and to prep the presenter. Now it's $7,500. And the difference is she knew kind of intellectually that she wanted to go to the higher price point, but she didn't believe it was worth it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like you're split. Part of you knows it should be more. All your friends have told you it should be more, but inside you still can't say the number with a straight face. So part of the work is to have that alignment. And that is what some of my courses really focus on. What are the words that when I say them, I'm now aligned? And then the second half is, what are those same words that when I say them to other people, they get it? Because you can't just raise your price. Two things have to happen. You've got to believe it, and you've got to have the words to communicate it.
Yeah. Well, if you don't convey it and they don't buy into the value proposition of that new price, you're going to lose a lot of your existing customers.
Yeah. And really, once you know what your quantum benefits are, you see the benefit and you have the words to describe it. From there, it gets pretty easy. So
I'll give you at this very moment, we have a case study situation brewing. My youngest daughter, she's an entrepreneur. She's 21 years old, and she has a piano teaching business. She drives to her students' homes and teaches them piano. And she wants to raise her prices. She needs to raise her prices. Like I think she's undercharging. She's doing well, but she could do a lot better. And she's gotten too busy now. She's gotten, 45 clients now. It's like, how do you even have time to sleep? I don't even understand it. So she's bought into what I'm saying, that she needs to raise her prices. Mm-hmm. But she doesn't want to do it to her current clients. She actually, she put it on her website. She's like, no problem. But she's really terrified to tell her existing clients that she's going to raise her prices. Like, what if they all leave? What will I do then? So What would you say to her in that situation?
Well, the nice thing about every industry is that there's somebody who's charging less than you and somebody who's charging more. And they're in business too. So you just have to decide where you want to be. So what we do with existing clients is we usually grandfather them in for a period of time. So there's two things that I would recommend for her. One is to stop selling lessons by the hour or by the packet, like 6 sessions for $500 or whatever it is that she sells, and start selling an outcome. Like my son is in kindergarten and he graduated from the Bob books to the early readers. Mm-hmm. And so however long it takes to get from the Bob books to the early readers, she could package it up and say, okay, for the next 8 weeks, you're going to be in the Bob books. And the price for that transformation is a certain number of dollars. Mm-hmm. Okay, so that first of all disconnects the price per hour and reconnects the pricing to the outcome. And that makes it much easier to charge. The second thing is, if she is charging by the hour, this is great for massage therapists, any kind of therapist, anybody that does work by the hour, is with your existing clients, you might say, look, I'm raising my prices as of March 1st. And what I want you to know is that I'm going to give you 3 months grace period at the old pricing. And so if you'd like to purchase in advance all of your sessions for the next 3 months, I'll give you the old pricing.
But what if they want to get the same pricing for the next 3 months grandfathered without prepaying for it? You say, no, that's not the offer?
Yeah, it's just not the offer, right? It's a business decision, and there is some letting go that needs to happen. One of my clients, she was a voice teacher. She was selling her voice lessons for $90 an hour, 2 days a week. She did $90 an hour voice lessons. She had 16 lessons on Monday and Tuesday. But on Thursday and Friday, in the other part of her business, she was selling $5,000 packages. And I had to arm wrestle her to get her to give up like 2 hours on a Tuesday so she could make phone calls to sell a $5,000 package. She eventually only kept a handful of students because she really enjoys them, but it just didn't make sense anymore. And I think we have to, you don't have to do anything, but what I would say is if she wants to raise her prices and have a quality of life that expands, then she has to make room. It would behoove her to make room for new people who get the value at a higher price point. So it might be, maybe she does it only with a certain group, the people that only came in the last 6 months, and say, hey, you know what, I've grown so much, I have to raise my price by, it's going to go up $10 an hour this month, and in 6 months it's going to go up another $20 an hour. Yeah. Now, everybody that's new coming in could come in $50 an hour higher, but she has a certain group that she's bringing them up to speed with the new pricing. And some of them might go away.
Yeah.
But that's okay because more people who are up to speed with the new pricing will come in.
That's right.
That's what happens when you're good.
Yeah, and she's crazy busy right now. 45 clients. There's no time for her. Like, that's crazy. Like, how do you have time to even breathe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. So we're getting close to time here. I was just curious, it's like a last question. What are some of your favorite close techniques? And there's, I know, so many of them out there, the assumptive close and the Ben Franklin close and all these sorts of things. So is there something that like works like magic for you that you just love, kind of your go-to close technique?
Nobody has ever asked me that before. I think that's awesome. I'm like, what is my favorite close? I don't know what my favorite close is. I think I really like to think of the interaction as when people see a possibility for something to be different in their lives, the natural next step when you see something possible is to take action. And in a conversation with something that you want to purchase, the next action is just to buy it. Mm-hmm. So for me, like, I don't like to use the word, what's my closing tactic? Because it's not really a tactic. It's actually a conversation. So it sounds to me, so when I'm saying it, what it'll sound like is, here's what I recommend for you based on what you said. And here's how I propose that we work together. What credit card would you like to put that on?
Yep.
right? Or when would you like to start? Because if I'm truly connected to that I'm providing a service to someone and they're ready for it, then of course I should ask them to pay, right? It's sort of like if I went to a clothing store and I tried on a bunch of dresses and the woman that was helping me pick out the clothes and stuff, the salesperson in the store, and I come out of the dressing room and I've got all these dresses in my hand and she says, well, which ones worked for you? And I'd say, well, these four. And if she didn't say, okay, well, I'll meet you up at the cash register, if she just said, okay, well, I'll see you later,
Yeah.
that would be weird.
Yeah. Or if she just said, okay, that's great. I'll take these ones that you don't want and I'll fold them and put them back. And here are the ones that you wanted. So there you go.
And have a nice day.
Yeah. So, and then it's up to them to take the next action where it was like a quote unquote assumptive close would be something like you just said. What credit card would you like me to put this on? Assumes that you're buying.
Well, you are buying.
Like even if I didn't say that I'm ready, I want to buy this thing, you jump in and say, well, what credit card would you like to put it on?
Because you are buying. Like if I go into a store, I try on a bunch of dresses, I come out of the dressing room and I've got 4 dresses in my hand and say, I like these. What else is there for me to do?
Yeah.
Like I'm buying dresses. Like all of my action and all of my words are matching that I'm now buying dresses. So this is, I think, the one thing that I wish people would really get. When you're talking to somebody on the phone and they're like, how much is it? And what does it look like to work with you? And they've talked to you for an hour because they're so interested. They are buying. And it's really us as a salesperson who do silly things that unsell.
Yeah.
We actually unsell them, and it's so frustrating to the buyer because they're thinking, man, I thought that this person would be different. I was really hoping that they'd have the solution for me, but then they got all weird and couldn't name the price, and they got all
or they started throwing stuff in when I didn't even ask for it. Like,
Yeah.
And you know what? If you make a decision by Friday, I'll lower the price or I'll include this bonus. And it's like, what? I didn't even ask for that.
Yeah, it's weird, right? It's like, no, they're buying, they're talking to you. You told them what they needed. You're going to say, great. So this is what I feel like you need. What credit card would you like to put that on? Or if you really want to be super soft, you can say, here's what I think you need. This is what I recommend. What do you think?
Yep.
And then they're going to say, sounds good. And then you say, great. What credit card would you like to put that on? It's just like they're already buying. And I think sometimes we get so weird about sales that we don't realize that they're already buying and we actually push people away.
Yeah, so true. Cool. So speaking of people buying, the one called Blueprint is one of your cornerstone systems, right, that you offer. So if you could give the little elevator pitch again of what the one called Blueprint is and why they should get it, and then we can send them somewhere to go buy the thing because it's pretty darn awesome.
I love it. I love it.
And I have to throw in a little plug here for Jennifer listeners. My wife Orion is a client of Jennifer's, and she's gone through the one called Blueprint and is in Jennifer's mastermind, and she's gotten so much value from working with Jennifer. So I definitely endorse her. Okay, go ahead and proceed.
Oh, awesome. Well, thank you. That's awesome. Yeah, Ryan is amazing. So here's what you can do. So number 1, this is a free thing that you can download. It's my book. It's a short PDF, and the URL is highticketsellingbook.com. Okay, HIGH ticket selling book. So that's free. It's my guide. It actually has my formula on how to have a very empowering win-win sales conversation with somebody that really looks to see if they're a fit and then really come from a powerful, wonderful place to make an offer. So grab that. It's free. And then in there, there's a link in there to book a strategy call. And in that strategy call, we'll actually figure out which of our flagship courses is the right one. So it might be the one called Blueprint, which is how to raise your fees, gain confidence, and fill your business with high-paying clients. And then we have other levels of work. So we'll just talk out which is the right one for you.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jennifer. This was a lot of fun and lots of value was delivered here. So very much appreciate it. I'm sure our listeners do as well. So if someone wanted to work with you directly, is that something that's available as an option, like a one-on-one coaching or mentoring type situation? I'm sure that's at a very high ticket price, but is that something that you do?
It is. I have diamond level clients. Those are my, it's a high 5-figure investment right now to work with me privately. Extremely, extremely valuable. Of course, I have quantum benefits for why. And then I have other levels that are appropriate for people at different levels of business as well.
Okay. So if somebody wanted to work with you on that level, would you still have them go to book the strategy call, get the high ticket selling book, and go through the same funnel as if...
Yep,
okay.
Absolutely. Or you can go straight to my website and request to speak with me. There's a link on my website, highticketsalessuccess.com.
Awesome. All right. Thank you, Jennifer. Thank you, listeners. This is Stefan Spencer, your host, signing off. We'll catch you on next week's episode.
Thanks for listening to the Marketing Speak podcast. Your host has been Stefan Spencer, 3-time author and leading expert on SEO and online marketing, whose client list boasts such brands as Zappos, Sony, and Chanel. Want to learn more about SEO, social media, or just generally how to build an online empire? Visit marketingspeak.com for an archive of past episodes, along with transcripts and show notes. In addition, a wealth of resources that include video-based training, screencasts, webinars, white papers, articles, and blog posts can be found on his SEO coaching site, scienceofseo.com. To reach Stefan, visit his personal website at stefanspencer.com or email him directly at stefan@stefanspencer.com. Until next time.